What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm showing you how I made the trap beat that you heard a snippet of in the intro with the Roland MC-101. Normally I go into videos with a pretty clear direction of I want to show you a specific technique, either on a piece of gear or in a musical style. Today, this is just an excuse to show you a beat that I made that I'm excited about. So I'm going to play a more full version of the jam, and then I'll walk you through how I made it. And hopefully this will give you some insight into how to use this device effectively to make trap beats, and some techniques for making kind of a bouncy trap beat in general.
Welcome to the Neon City.
Alright, so here's the beat unprocessed. So I'll run you through each individual element here. Let's start with the drums. So these are mostly custom sounds. So this kick with a good bit of grit on it, this pretty short clap, a couple of hi-hats, a little bit of panning on them, and this kind of dinky snare. And that's virtually it. But this provides a really good foundation for kind of the bounce of this track. So jumping into the 808, this patch is dist 808 style bass 1. And it's really nice. This is my go-to for 808s. Not really any attack, because that's being covered by the kick. Those little octave jumps. Moving on to the guitar. This will sound quite a bit different once it's processed, and I'll get to that in a bit. This is nylon guitar 1. And it sounds kind of cheap and fake, but it's a decent foundation for the kind of sound I'm going for. And it's worth noting that I have scatter routed so that if you hit shift and then scatter, you can go all the way to settings. And you set the position to an individual track if you want. So I've set this to track 2, which is the guitar. So what I can do, use that to add little bits of ear candy throughout the track, and that's how I pulled that off in the jam, which I think adds a super cool flavor to this beat, especially the kind of tape stop-like effect and the reverse. And also the octave jump. Those are 3 that I've heard all over the place in beats like this, and it worked perfectly for this jam. I've kind of dismissed the scatter effect in the past, but routing it to individual tracks has really opened up its usefulness. So let's move on to track 4, which is a lead, I believe. Or this might be under vocal. This is OA/mod. So yeah, this is a vocal. And I dramatically increased the amount of glide. And you do that by hitting shift and then sound. You can go to setting, and then you can scroll through all of these parameters. A lot of these are set by the tone, so by the preset, but then you can go in and manually change them. And so in this case, I went to portamento and changed the time, which creates that really nice little glide between notes. And this is a pretty typical layout for the way I make beats on the 101. It'll change a bit for the circuit, and I made a whole video dedicated to that, but typically I'll have track 1 as all of my drums on one track. Then I will have one track dedicated to the 808, typically, because I really like that patch and I like keeping those separate because that's easier to work with. And then I'll have one patch dedicated to an ARP and one patch dedicated to some kind of melody that interacts with that ARP, weaves in and out of it. And that's the setup here. From here, I recorded this via USB into my DAW to do some further tweaking. All right, so jumping into my DAW of choice, Reaper, I've not done a ton, but there are a few really key things that I do want to point out that helped really bring this to life. So let's start off with that kind of fake guitar. You've heard it unprocessed, that's this. So the big thing is the plugin Super VHS, which I've talked about at length on this channel before. They sent this over a while back. They've never paid me, but I just really enjoyed this plugin. And the main thing is this chorus effect and then this drift, which kind of has the pitch warble a little bit. And that really brought out a vintage tone to this and made the fakeness of it more of a feature than a bug. And I've also got a subtle amount of reverb on here, and a little bit of EQ to cut some lows. The main lead has some similar processing. The mix is not turned all the way up on this one, so it's just kind of adding a bit of dirt, a bit of a vintage tone to it, making it less pristine, which is a thing I've noticed quite a bit with MC-101 tracks. That's both a blessing and a curse. I think it's nice that I can record super duper pristine tracks and then dirty them up if I wish after the fact. Didn't even touch the 808. For the drums, I've got this parallel compressor, iHeart NY, which helped bring out some transients. Here's without. I added another little hi-hat part in post. Just pan to the right slightly. And then finally, this section that I'm thinking of using as kind of a producer tag. I've never really had a producer tag up until now, but this is from the intro of a song that probably hasn't released yet, but I will get there eventually, and this is that. This is basically text-to-speech pitched up slightly and then sent through a bunch of layers of delay and reverb to make it sound like it's coming out of a loudspeaker.
Welcome to the Neon City.
And I like that as kind of a tone setter, and it's something a little more interesting than just saying my name. And finally, for those of you curious, the mastering is super simple, just a little bit of OTT, a little bit of EQ, and limiter. And that does it for today's video, so thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to check out the Roland MC-101, I'll leave a link for it in the description. If you'd like to see more trap beats on the Roland MC-101, you can click or tap up over here, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.